I don't. So, so I decided, yeah, I should just go. Like, there's no reason to be so hesitant, right? And so I went and did the dinner answer, and it was just really nice, right? It was, I mean, it's only 20 minutes, right? And they just do one round of everything. You don't get hit on the back anymore. It's just you just do it, you just focus on yourself. And so again, like the whole theme of the day, it was really a chance to just have a very genuine kind of spiritual cleanse, I guess is how I felt, right? It was just, I just felt really good at the end of the day, and just happy that I had that day to kind of be prayerful and be focusing on trying to elevate my spiritual kind of way of thinking and my attitude. And so then Saturday again, because everything had been moved to the Sunday, Saturday was also kind of a free day, right? And I think that was also Brendan's birthday. So we met him in the morning and treated him and Valeria to some heavenly G burger, Then we went, me and Victor then went to the Chunjungun, right? And I'm very glad we did that, because they were doing a special exhibition. Actually, we didn't even realize they were doing a special exhibition. It was just like we had the time, and you could just, the European office was kind of organizing that people could go on this tour, but it wasn't really organized. It's just like anyone could go on the tour. And they just bus you up to the Chunjungun, but there was this amazing exhibition of True Parents' life in the Chunjungun. So as you're like touring the palace and going into the different areas, there were these like, it was almost like a museum, except it was just an exhibition where you had things from Father's time in Hunnan prison, right? And in Belvedere, right? They had I think it was a rock that he would pray over, when he was in Hunnan prison. And somehow they managed to get that rock. And then they had like all the clothes from the Holy Wedding, just displayed, right? So they've kept all that very important kind of historical stuff. And you could just see kind of the history of the movement in a very visual way. It was very, very actually moving and impactful. The thing that impacted me the most was the parts around Father's time in prison, right? And then some things that were just like everyday things. You had like Father's barber kit, like how he cut his hair, right? And then some of Mother's things that she used, right? And it just made it very personal, right? The history of the church, I just felt very personal seeing items from moments in the church, right? And that was, yeah, I was very grateful that we could do it, but I also came out of that feeling like just seeing like kind of the history of the church in a physical way, and seeing parts of Father's life that you could literally touch. I mean, obviously they were behind glass, but they were that close. Really made True Parents' life feel more personal, right? More like, these were two people that were really fighting against the odds and really trying to make the world different, right? That they really experienced life in a way that was very real and was full of suffering. But despite that suffering, they always had their eye on the vision and the goal, right? And that's contrasted, like these very humble beginnings contrasted with like this massive palace, right? And again, the other thing that really made the trip to the Chunjungun very special is seeing through Victor's eyes is like, whoa, this is amazing, right? And like that kind of wonder and amazement at seeing, the palace for the first time. Whereas me, I've seen it a few times, I've been in it. It's just, yeah, I think it's just been a bit disillusioned or taking it for granted, right? But to really appreciate like how much work and how much effort went in. And it's really, you know, these buildings are really built in a way. And when you hear Mother's testimony, I got the Chund one going as well. One thing she kept saying was, it really needs to be built with the best materials, right? This needs to last 1,000 years, 2,000 years, right? And when you're there and you're kind of walking along the walls, and you can feel that, like this is something substantial, something that will, you know, really represent true parents in the Providence for thousands of years, right? So yeah, and then after that, we did, you know, Saturday evening, we did the special great works. So that was very good. It was very crowded, like the whole hall was completely full. But again, it was like another, again, Ansu is very, you know, cleansing in a way, in that way. And I really felt grateful for the opportunity, right? And then there were also some presentations and speeches and entertainment. So the whole thing was kind of like a nice family feel, you know, we're all sitting on the ground crowded together. So even though there's a lot of people, maybe 1,000, 2,000 people, it also feels very kind of like a family gathering in a way. And that's something they do quite well in Korea, and I'm always impressed by, where even though there's so many people, it kind of feels a bit more personal, right? And that kind of brings me to the next day, which was the blessing and the 80th birthday celebration, right? And of course, this is in the stadium. Everyone's in the bleachers around, and you have, you know, and you have all the like big production value, right? But we were very, I think everyone was really impressed by the entertainment. I don't know how many people were watching it live, but when you were there sitting in the stadium, this was probably one of the best blessings they've organized and held from like a blessing perspective. The entertainment was well paced. It wasn't a 2-hour play or a 1.5 hour play. It was really high quality, really entertaining. They had the pay. It's like they're kind of learning and figuring out how to make it better and better each time. So like at the end of the blessing, you're like, this was really kind of entertaining. This was like being at an actual event and a concert, and it was like, it was well paced. And I feel like, you know, for the couples, it'd be a really good experience, right? Because we were talking about our own blessings and, you know, how tired we were, or how, you know, how it was hard to focus and stuff. But the entertainment was really good, and the whole ceremony was really uplifting, right? And so, you know, always at a blessing, I'm really kind of excited to see the couples, really happy for the couples, really, you know, praying for them actually during the ceremony, that they can have, you know, successful blessings, successful lives, and build strong families, etc. Because it really is a starting point for that, right? So the blessing, you know, of course, I thought just went really well, happy to see it. But part of the whole thing that really impacted me was they were doing the celebration for Mother's birthday, her 80th birthday. And at the very end, so Mother kind of came out from the stage, and she sat in the middle, kind of facing the stage. So all the kind of entertainment and stuff, you know, she could watch it. She had a little screen. So, you know, her eyes, she has to wear sunglasses often because her eyes aren't so good, and the light impacts her. And at the end, all the leaders came on stage and they sang to her, right? And it was such a kind of touching moment for me, because these were people, obviously, she knows really well, that she works with every day, that are really close to her. And some of them I noticed were even, yeah, so all the kind of leaders, all the continental directors, all the national, like the Korean people, all her like grandkids that are working kind of with her every day, they all came on stage and just sang to her like a Korean song. And yeah, it was very touching and moving. And then after that, Mother got up and she really wanted to sing, right? And so Mother sang a song. The song she likes to sing, she says, you know, this event reminds me of my own anniversary, right? Because that's part of the things we're celebrating, is True Parents' anniversary. And she sang the song that you see sometimes in the old videos at the Holy Wedding. And you could tell she really wanted to sing, but it's harder for her to sing, right? So she sang the whole song, but her voice is starting to crack a bit and stuff. But she just really had this heart to share. And then after that, she asked the whole audience to sing with her, right? So you have this whole stadium singing, I think it was Saranghe all together. And again, it was kind of this thing it reminded me of when we used to do True Parents' birthday. Actually, I'd forgotten this, but before Champyeong and before all the big buildings, we had the Sunhwa Art School in Korea, and it was right near the dormitory, right? And every time it was True Parents' birthday, they would come to the Sunhwa Art School performance hall, like where they did a lot of the ballet performance. It's a very beautiful hall. It's like those traditional like balconies on the side and seating in the front. It'd be similar even to the Grand Canal Theater, right? It was like a theater, and people would perform, and True Parents would be sitting up, in the bleachers and watching the performances, and that's how we celebrated their birthday every year. And then one time I just remember they came down onto the stage after the performances, mother and father together, and they just danced with everyone, right? So the whole crowd, kind of comes up, and everyone's kind of in the front, and all the performers are on stage, and we're just all singing and dancing together. And I just think this is something that really reflects the heart of True Parents. Like, you can't be a parent really to 10,000 people or 1,000 people, right? It's just not possible, right? But you can still love them like that and sit down together and have this feeling, even though we were in a stadium of like 10, 20,000 people, it felt like we were all kind of together, right? We were all singing together and doing this event together with mother, and mother was really with all of us and wanted all of us to be with her. And it was really moving. Like, it reminded me of, every time I've been with mother, she's able to have this feeling of like everyone with her, and she's with everyone, if that makes sense. And I don't know, maybe it's hard to describe or hard to get what I mean, but I think it's really a strong example of mother's heart and mother's ability to really share her love with people, right? And yeah, I think it's something both father and mother have been able to do very well, but I think mother is really the one able to really make the whole stadium feel like we're all celebrating her birthday together, and she really loves us and she appreciates us. So that was kind of the main thing that stuck out to me and impacted me the most. There's a couple other things that happened. I'm a little bit worried. I was going to let Brendan go first, actually, because I didn't want to share everything. So I think what I'll do is I'll let Brendan come up and share his testimony. There's a couple more things I might talk about, but maybe Brendan will talk about it and then I won't have to. So if everyone can give Brendan a round of applause.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be me and Valeria, but she's not feeling well, so she's at home resting. Yeah, we had a interesting time in Korea. The interesting time starts 2 days before we leave, and we're at service, and Eli comes to us and says, "I don't see you on the list of accommodation." And we're like, "Oh, that's weird." And then it turns out that our registration didn't go through, so we didn't buy the packages for a place in a hotel, meals, like trips, tickets, anything to do for Korea. So at that stage, we saw that we were homeless. So we were calling and like contacting people that we know in Korea, just like, where can we stay? Or like, should we try to get an Airbnb? Should we try to get it into a hotel ourselves? Should we sneak into Eli's room? Should we just sleep in the hallways? What should we do? So like we talked, and we decided we'd just stay in Cheongpyeong for most of the time, because one reason why we kind of wanted to do other things is just that as my dad always calls it, so Chungcheong could be a seagull colony where there's just hundreds of people sleeping on the floor in a room where it just gets way too hot, and in the middle of like Korean summer, it's just not, well, the start of Korean summer is not ideal. But when talking to other people, they said that most people aren't going to come until like the 5th or even the 6th, just because they're going to come for the opening of the palace and the great works. So we decided it wouldn't be too crowded to stay in Chungcheong. Yeah, it was my dad will argue against it, but it was for me my first time in Chungcheong, because last time I was there I was really young and I don't remember anything. So essentially it was my first time. And then I was also blessed there, but I didn't go around anywhere, so I wouldn't say I was there really properly. Yeah, I mean, I will have when it comes to the greater the kind of the global community of the church, I wouldn't say that I'm very connected or to it or anything. So all I know is that they're building big buildings in the mountains in Korea. There's loads of people that come for some events, and that's kind of as far as it got. And yeah, I kind of just didn't really think much of it. But when we got there, we're driving up the mountain, and I got a view of the temple, the Cheongwon-gun, everything. I just kind of saw it and took it in. I was like, yeah, it's worth it being here. Just from the very first moment, to just being there and seeing everything and just kind of knowing that this place is for us. It was really something that's you don't really I haven't really felt. You might get it for a small scale going to to a church event in Camberg, or workshops, or coming here and just knowing that this is part of us. But going there and just seeing everything there was just for us was really something I never connected before, just because I wasn't properly there. And so I joke and say that we were kind of left homeless, but it kind of just set the tone for our trip, which was that if we got the packages, everything would kind of be prepared for us and would be taxied everywhere. Well, we really had to choose and make an effort to do everything we wanted, because every morning we wake up and the first thing we do is message Eli or some other friends that were actually our couple from our Trinity, who was leaders in the Middle East, were there. So we message them as well and be so what's the schedule for the day? How can we get in here? Are we going to get denied anywhere because we don't have the packages? And then we get it and we have to be, okay, how can we get there? Because we weren't sure if we'd be allowed on buses. So we'd be okay, how do we get our buses into Seoul to get to different things? And just, it was it wasn't just get up and be okay, here's breakfast, and saunter on to the bus and go somewhere and be okay, when do we have to be somewhere? How do we, we didn't have a crowd to follow because we weren't part of in the hotels or the Chunwabi, which is where other people were staying. And so it really just every morning we just wake up and message people being where do we go, what can we do, and looking at the schedule and seeing, okay, if we go here then we can go here. So it really just took the trip into our own hands and really made it so that we had to choose where to go, choose what to participate in, and really make that effort. And also being in Chungcheong, we also got as Eli touched on, the Chungcheong experience of having Ansu or Changyang now, and getting Chungcheong food, and just kind of seeing how odd it is to walk into a store where they sell Gucci and True Parents pictures in the same place. But I think it was I loved staying in Chungcheong. You always meet interesting people, and especially when around big events, you meet people you haven't met in years, and it's always again, just gathering that kind of, I said, that global community, which is it was definitely something I was excited for, because I think the last time I was at a global community event was in London. I don't even remember for what it was. I just remember we spent like 12 hours driving in a tiny Fiat, like trying to figure out where we're going in London. But yeah, and yeah, I really felt that, like, from getting there and seeing that it was ours, and just kind of the moment you settle in, it's kind of just like, it is very daunting as soon as you come. You're like, when Dylan came a bit later, he came and he somehow found his way to the cafe and found Victor there, and then he just sat there and refused to move basically until someone else moved. And then we got there, and he was just like, no, I wouldn't say freaking out, but he wasn't comfortable anyway. He was like, okay, where do I sleep? Where's the bathrooms? Where's the showers? Like, and then he's like, is there a place to poop in the bathrooms? Like, is there, and it was like, where do I eat? Like, what time do I get up? And I was like, just calm down. This is where you go, this is where you sleep, this is where you poop, this is where you shower, like when you wake up. And then here's people you can talk to when we're not here, because he's saying for 40 days there. So I knew someone that was doing it 40 days, so he got him in contact with the European leader that will be there for the next 40 days. So hopefully, like, as far as I know, he's being taken care of. Yeah, so I definitely felt that when you're getting there, because there's just like massive buildings, and like, especially when you get there, there's just halls full of people doing, when we got there, there's halls doing what people doing Changyang. And then I was like, where can I put luggage? Because you're not allowed luggage in some of the sleeping rooms. And then but yeah, it's probably takes like a couple of hours, and then you kind of get used to the building, where to go, and it really just starts feeling comfortable. Like, the schedule is yours, what you do is yours, where you go is yours. And there's loose schedules, there's things that happen, but it's always up to you to go to it. There's not someone chasing you around, being like, why aren't you here? Why aren't you there? If you want to wake up and go to breakfast and get 2 very artificial breads with very artificial milk, you can, or you don't have to. And if you want to go and get lunch, you can, you don't have to. If you want to go to Changyang, you can, you don't have to. It's like, there's no people being like, why are you walking around with this Changyang? They just, it's up to you to go there, to make the experience your own. And I really extenuated the circumstance that we were not exactly there by choice, but that we're there. We had to really seize everything and grab everything. And yeah, so we mentioned going to events, and I mentioned trying to figure out where to go. So we weren't sure if we're going to be allowed on buses. So the first big event was the World Summit with a few different events. So we are calling around some friends and looking online, and we got a bus ourselves to the Lotte World Hotel, where we had the big first event, which being we've just seen some people that I haven't seen in years, and everyone dressed up in suits nicely, and going it was interesting, because I also saw a bit of a past for Valeria, because there's a lot of missionaries in Russia and leaders, and they were all basically all there. So I got to meet a lot of people that knew her, and chat a little bit, and and just kind of have that first taste of a global community event again. And it was definitely, I don't have too much to say on it. We went to the YSP event talking mainly about ecology, and then they had a few questions about women's rights at the end. But yeah, it was also really interesting hearing from those world level leaders about their problems, really big problems that they're dealing with, and just it was very different. It was from former world leaders to people that just started a company in Korea. And it was really interesting that that when it comes to this, technically they're on the same level because they are working to bettering not just the community but the country and the world by like doing their best to take care of it, and that all those people are meeting in one place. It was definitely like it was really nice to see and to experience that. And yeah, and I think most of the other events just happened in Chongqing, so we didn't need to worry too much. But yeah, and well, I say don't really worry too much, but it eventually came the blessing, and we found out that you absolutely needed a ticket to get into the blessing. And because we didn't have a package, we didn't have tickets. So we're asking, of course, going around asking people, and we didn't really know. And then, but we got taken under the wing of the Russians, and so we got, well, they got us tickets. But as soon as we got in, we put our stuff down, we're walking around, and we saw them again. We went to find them to say, like, hi, and thanks for the tickets. And then they said, oh, come sit with us, which is, so we were up at the very top. And they were like, come sit with us with all the leaders in like just the one on top, like on top of directly overlooking the couples and stuff. And they're like, no, come in with us. And then they're like, okay. So I had to run up and get my stuff and then just like walk in. And then there's loads of people sitting on the steps. And I was like, we take someone's seats. But I was like, we were invited here by the Russians. We're okay. And but yeah, and it was, yeah, and as Eli said, the blessing was really nice. There's never like, I mean, there's a difference. I've more well rested than before, but it was really well paced. There wasn't a time where I was like, this is going on too long. The performances were really varied and very really nice. And yeah, it was also really good. I think it was really good for me and Valeria, since we had our blessing in Turkey, with just us and one other couple with a very small community of people. I think it was really nice that we were there for the blessing, and we could, in a way, take part in it as well ourselves, as a lot of people do when they're there, to kind of reaffirm. And yeah, and then yeah, then we were also given more tickets ribbons to go to the dedication of the Chongqing Chongqing. Yeah, and it was also really nice to be there as well. It's again just surrounded by so many people, just wanting to be there for the same reason as you, and kind of and seeing it was interesting. It didn't really hit me at the time, but it's also like I did like when what's the name of them? People in uniforms, UPA. When they came, they they did a display of flags of the world, like flags of the world, and I don't know, just thinking about it now or before, it was just kind of like they're not just carrying it for no reason. Like, they're carrying it because it represents us as a global community. That's why they're bringing it, and they're not just doing it just because as a show, as an empty show. It's showing that we're there, we're in all of those places, and that's and that we're connected to all those places because of what we choose to follow, and to how do we choose to live our lives. And yeah, and I think it was really just seeing the temple, and it was really just I never imagined that we would have this building for us to go to worship in eventually, but that we could go and take our time to go to Korea and see it and pray there and worship there, and have that. It was really, yeah, just being there, seeing it, and it was just really I just felt it was really something that's really important to have going forward, having this a place, like I said, it's our home, but it's also a place, a special place to worship. And yeah, and then yeah, so from all the events, I really felt, you know, like a connection to a global community. But I think what's something that me and Vera will remember for a very long time, hopefully forever, is the next day when they're opening the botanical gardens. We're kind of wondering whether we should go or not. It's just at the moment, it's just like a small garden, there's a bunch of greenhouses that we saw, and we're like, oh, why not? We'll go. And we get there, and then at the start, there's maybe like probably only like 70, 80 people or something. And I was like, oh, it's whatever. And I was like, ooh, free McCall. So I get some free McCall and just like drinking. And then there's maybe like 100 people. And we're like, okay, I guess like, well, I guess nothing really going to happen. Someone important that we don't know is going to come. And then the car comes. We're like, okay, kind of looks like Mother's car. And then like Mother steps out. And then and me and Vera like, why is there so little people here? If like your Mother's actually here opening the botanical gardens. And we're like, okay, well, this is cool. So we kind of like sidle up like as much as we can to like the red carpet where like the microphone is that everyone else is doing. And then like as soon as she gets like to the microphone, everyone's like trying to like get on to like the carpet and kind of like trying to get really close. And then on top of them not wanting to do that because they still had presentations to do, there was also like 2 confetti cannons on the side. And then there's so many security guards being like, get away, get away, get away. Just like people just gonna get blasted by confetti if they stood there. But yeah, we ended up being just like a couple of meters away from True Mother, which was something I didn't imagine I'd be able to do on the trip, because like I just imagine just seeing her on the stage and like being there. And also the like at the blessing and the dedication of the temple, there was so much security, like metal detectors, like security guards at like almost every door, and like multiple at the entrance. I even saw like a bunch of security guards like dragging a guy out of the line, the one waiting to get into the blessing. And we're just like, and then here there was like nothing, absolutely nothing at this garden. So we're like, okay, there's no way that she's coming. But then she came, and we were able to like stand like a couple of meters from her. And then she starts going in to pray. Like, so she dedicates and she goes in and she prays. And as soon as she walks in, they kind of want people to kind of stay out and look at the monitors, but everyone would start rushing in to get like as close as possible to her. And then like, and because there wasn't security, there was only like the people that were like attendants there. And these 2 small Korean girls are like, go up to try and stop the masses. And everyone just kind of like rushes by them and like gets there. And then so everyone's like, everyone, like all the leaders, like they're in suits and stuff. And then at the very front, there's none other than Victor's younger brother, Paolo, in a white Dunn t-shirt. Almost everyone in suits just standing like almost right in front of True Mother. And then she prays and finishes, and you just see Paolo, like everyone bows, and you see Paolo in a white t-shirt just bowing in front of her. I was like, oh man, it was because he started like at the very start, and then you kind of see him in the monitor just kind of like pushing his way forward along with her. And then yeah, and I think it's just, like I say, like there's a global connection, but I think being there and being able to like experience that, it was a very personal connection for me and Valeria to like True Mother and True Parents at that time. And yeah, and I think I think it also just showed that we made the effort to go to this opening, and because that we got to have this experience with her. And yeah, I'll just share one funny story, which is also to do with Paolo. So there's the opening of the marina, and we're like, they weren't allowing, like only leaders were allowed. So we're up at the very top, just like kind of looking at it. And then True Mother pulls up, and then she walks just like a meter away from us into the elevator, which is cool. And then we saw her going, and then she is like there, dedicated it. And then in the crowd on the marina, we see a guy in a white t-shirt, and it's just Paolo there, just like somehow just like ran past security to get there. And then so True Mother goes in, and there's a big tour, all the leaders, and Paolo of course goes in as well. And then all the leaders are coming out to go to like the next thing, which is was it victory celebration? Yeah, so we go to the victory celebration, and then And then so True Mother is like one of the last people to come out, and then who is right behind True Mother, but Paolo, like literally just like True Mother is like just right in front of him. He's just here, just walking, like breathing down her neck, basically. And we're just like, how does he do this? And then after Paolo is like, you know, like her secretary and her grandchildren, so like behind Paolo. We're just like, what is going on? And yeah, he really sees the moments there. But yeah, it was, yeah, I think that's, I mean, just to kind of sum it up is that with this, like we started off kind of stressed and wondering what we're going to do in Korea, but we kind of got, but because of that, we got like a very special experience with being able to stay in Chungcheong, but also to really like to have that more personal experience connecting to the global community, while also being able to attend all the events and be present there and to give like our efforts towards those. And like it's, yeah, it's obvious that it couldn't never have happened if our registrations went through and like normal people, and we could have went through. But I think like at the end of it, like we're truly grateful that we could have such a unique experience with everything. And it was like, we look forward to being able to go again at some but maybe have a more normal experience. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Brendan. And you know, as always with testimonies, we hope that the brothers and sisters can get a sense of, you know, the experiences we had. It's like you could be there with us, hopefully on some level. But yeah, maybe I can show a couple pictures to end, because I think pictures are also more powerful than some words. I just wanted to say one thing though about the Chunwongung opening. Just did everyone see the ceremony of the Chunwongung opening? Okay, because I would, if you hadn't seen it, I'd really recommend you watch it, because I thought it was just a beautiful ceremony, but especially when Mother enters the Chunwongung. And one thing I really felt strongly was there was a point where Mother enters the main hall and she smiles, and she's just genuinely happy that this is done, right? And the whole time she's speaking about, you know, you watch a lot of these, they showed a lot of the speeches like to the leaders and stuff about before the Chunwongung, how she's like, this is like the culmination of the providence. This is the culmination of True Parents' work and legacy. And, you know, and I've always felt since Father passed, the Mother really is trying to prepare the whole movement for her passing, right? And just, I really felt in that moment, this Chunwongung is kind of like, this is what I can leave, you know, for all the future generations, right? This gives now Chunpyeong this kind of complete feel of being a holy city, right? A city where God can actually physically dwell. And even Mother in her prayer says, of course, God should be everywhere, right? But, you know, here's like a focal point people can come to and be like a physical representation. So I'll show some pictures. They're all kind of selfie style, so they're very kind of on the ground reporting. But this is the view from the Chunwongung. So when you're standing in the plaza of the Chunwongung, you see up and you see the Chunjeonggung, the palace, and then that's a gate that you drive through. And that's also new. I didn't, that's since I've been in Korea, that's brand new. And it looks like it has 2 stories of floors like built into the mountain. And I'm assuming, although no one's been able to confirm, that's going to be kind of like a museum archiving area. But it's like the gate as you make your way up to one of these like traditional but really beautiful like road gates that you have to drive through on the way up. So we'll just kind of skim through them quickly. I just thought it was a beautiful view. So this is, if you've seen the Chunwongung, you have like the main building and then a plaza, and then you have this kind of obelisk viewing place right on the edge of the mountain. we weren't allowed to go up. We tried to sneak up. The security guards kicked us out, but there were no stairs or anything to get up there yet either. So there was nowhere to even sneak up to. Just like we're trying to press the elevator buttons to go up, and they only went down to the parking lot. The security guard's like, "You have a car parked down?" I was like, "No, we're trying to go up." "You can't go up." I was like, "What? The elevator doesn't work?" He's like, "No, you can't go up." It's like we were pretending to be a bit dumb, but anyway, scoot over. Just beautiful views though. It's also I was so glad they actually changed the date, because it was so much nicer to have the ceremony without the rain, right? So this is just the marina. There's the new boat. I sent a video on the group chat of us on the boat. So it's just a nice little boat tour. It's a very touristy area, so it's kind of nice to have. Just skim through. I also took the picture because it had the date, so it's kind of like a historical reference. This is in Chumpadong Church. I was so shocked when I went there because I had lived in Korea. We'd done all the church tours, and I had never been to the original Chumpadong Church. So it was like a brand new experience for me. So this is the Lord into his garden comes. It's just like across the wall in the main lecture hall when you come in the building. So I just thought it was just kind of interesting. You know, the whole place is fascinating. It's like part of our church history. I think they wanted to sell it at one point, and Father was like, "No, you have to keep it as a museum." And again, I sent my very amateurish video tour of the building, skim through. So that's outside. That's like the first church sign, right, that they put up. Me and Victor taking selfies. Scoot over. So this was in, I wanted to get it translated. This was in Hyojinim and Hungjinim's room, just on the desk. So they had like a little study desk, and being the two oldest sons, you know, they were sharing a room. And I don't know which son it is. I was trying to get someone who knew the Chinese characters. It's their, it's the first set of Chinese characters. But I just thought it was interesting that they kept, you know, again, this kind of church history. It's really fascinating for me. We can go through quickly. So that's Peter. For those that don't know, he's the national leader of Sweden. We kind of hang out a lot, have a lot of fun together. And hopefully we're going to invite him over to give a service sometime, so you guys get a better sense of, and then that's, I think people recognize the girl in sunglasses, Midi, and then also, I always forget the guy's name, good friend of Victor's. They do MMM together. Andreas. Huh? Andreas, there you go. All right, we can just go through quickly. They're just kind of random pictures like that. This one's interesting. I have a few of these. This is in a very remote island south of Korea. Took us like 4 hours on a boat to get there. And Father used to go there fishing a lot as he got older, like just to, in a way, just kind of get away and relax. But he was very inspired by islands. You know, he's always been big on Ocean Church. And so they made, and I never knew this till I went there, in this very remote island, they made a Chunwon-gun. They made like a temple for Ocean Church, and Father called it the Ocean Church Palace. And, you know, he really wants the kind of Korean islands there to, that's inside in the main hall. And that's the calligraphy he did when they opened it in the dedication ceremony. And that was part of our pilgrimage. We went there. I sent the article. Yeah.
The area is called Yosu.
No, Yosu's on the land. This island is it's Dogunmun, Gomundo. It's called Gomundo. So Yosu is the city on the southern port of Korea.
Yeah.
And from Yosu, you take a 4-hour ferry to get to this island. So it was a beautiful day on a ferry boat, and everyone got sunburned except me because I knew I'd get sunburned. So I stayed in the shade because I'm afraid of the sun. But it was like a beautiful deck, and you're just out in the middle of the ocean, and islands there's literally, it's an archipelago. So there's literally an island like every, I don't know, 100, like every half a kilometer or whatever, sometimes closer, sometimes longer. So it's just a beautiful place, really remote, and obviously Father had this desire to establish Ocean Church. Was that the last one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's it. Yeah, I'm not great at taking pictures, but I would recommend people read the article about the pilgrimage, because that kind of sums everything up, and it has lots of pictures, and you'll see Doyle and Dylan and the back of my head and a lot of those pictures. So just read through it, because I think it's a good summary of what we did, and it was also a really good experience in the sense of kind of getting away from everything, and then we're kind of getting inspired to buy an island and silly stuff like that, and try to build a city on it that's all like self-sustaining or whatever. Me and Victor were talking about that for a while. Very impractical stuff, but who knows, right? It's just kind of a beautiful remote place to be. And you can see why Father was kind of going there to really kind of, I guess, in a way, to prepare, right? To prepare for, moving the spirit world. If I can be so bold as to kind of imagine his motivation. All right. So on that note, let me close with a prayer. Thank you everyone for listening. Sara Manashin Hanul Bumonim, our beloved and precious Heavenly Parent. Today, Brendan and I just shared a bit of our personal experience being in Korea and being with Mother. And of course, it's really something that each person hopefully here can have a chance to experience themselves, going to Korea, going to Chungcheong, really being able to connect on a much deeper level to your providence and to your heart. But also, in many ways, the world is a big place, and it's important to go and to connect and really have these personal experiences with true parents. But ultimately, our mission and our responsibility is to really build the kingdom of heaven in our own lives, in our own communities, in our own countries. So we pray that these experiences that we had and also that we've shared can really help accomplish that goal. And Mother has empowered us to bring the Chunchimon into our own buildings. We have that here in front of us. So we pray we can also bring really the strength and the spirit of spirit world in your presence everywhere we go, and in every situation, in every part of the world that we interact with. So we really pray that our Irish community here can build, in many ways, build our own kingdom of heaven. Maybe even build our own Chunwongung someday, our own palaces, but really be able to inspire the people of this country and really be able to set the standard of true parents and ideal families and principle, and that we really represent our Heavenly Parent in every moment, and in the way we are growing and the way we're learning from each other. So just very grateful that we could have these experiences, that we could share them, and pray that all of us can continue on this path and this journey of understanding our Heavenly Parents more deeply and being able to love each other more deeply. So I report this in a very grateful heart in the name of Young Il and Vicky, bless and family. Okay, let's close for today. One more hose on. Can you back up? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I know for my family, we were in Stuttgart for the lesson in Germany, so I can agree with Brendan as well. And Eli, the ceremony was very nice when you watched the live stream. I was a bit worried because I did hear some past stories of like 2 hours of entertainment, and then the lesson's over just like that. And so I wasn't sure what to expect when you were watching the live stream, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was a very nice ceremony, nice event, and yeah, just had a very nice time. And similar to Brendan as well, the only time I've been in Korea was when I was like 2 years old. It doesn't count. I don't really remember much. So it's nice to hear their experiences and the report from their time in Korea. And
makes me look forward to the potential time that I might be in Korea myself. But we'll see. But yeah. On to the closing song. It's called the closing song. I feel like the timing was a little weird in that one, but regardless, we survived. So yeah, that'll be it for the service. Is there any lunch downstairs? I don't actually know what the plan is, but
I can.
we can figure it out, I guess.
All right, so I don't think we have any, do we have any lunch today? I didn't organize it, sorry. So it might just be everyone take care of themselves day. But yeah, I think if everyone's aware, next Sunday, we're gonna be doing this kind of we're gonna be doing an event to celebrate and honor your mother's 80th birthday. It's gonna be in the afternoon after the service. I think Mandy's planning to give the service, right? Because that's okay, great. So Mandy will give the service in the morning and then we'll have an event in the afternoon. And I'll be happy to make lunch next week. So yeah, so that's the plan. Again, you know, the hardest to really headquarters asked everyone to have kind of an external event as well. Make sure that, you know, as much as possible, we're trying to help people be aware of parents' life work, of mother's work. Again, there's so much that happened. I left it out, but if people are curious, you know, I had a very interesting experience at the World Summit because there were some leaders around Bosnia, the Serbia-Kosovo situation. So that was kind of an interesting discussion, but the breadth of what Mother's doing is actually, very impressive, and she really pushes herself hard during these events. I mean, you can tell she can barely walk, and she's going to every event, coming out on stage, walking in front of everyone, dedicating, doing prayers. So she's taking all these things very seriously. And then the World Summit is just, another very kind of impressive element of that. So we're going to really try to, as usual, we do our best with the events. We try to get people to come, we invite people. But really, I just ask if everyone makes a special effort to help out, to participate, talk to Mandy and Carol in terms of what you can do on the day or before. And let's really just make it, again, we really make the effort to get people, but even if it's just our members, let's make it an event where we're really honoring Mother's memory, right? And everything Mother's done and your parents have done, and really represent them. So I just wanted to kind of make
Yeah, dress code or no.
yeah, I mean, it'll be a nice event, so we should dress up for it, I think.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, yeah. And there'll be, I think, a reception after, drinks, food, the usual. There'll be some entertainment, things like that. So yeah, Mandy, do you want to say anything else on it, or that's
Well,
good?
we have some physical invites as well as those PDFs. So if anybody wants to post one or give some to their neighbors or friends or family, we have some downstairs. So if you want some, I have some available. And yeah, if there's a lot to do still to pull it off for next week, but if anyone has any time or energy to come in, that'd be great. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
If you don't mind to let us know, even though you think it's obvious you're coming, just maybe to Mandy's on the phone or to Mandy, because we just need to make sure in terms of food and who's going to be here, because that can determine.
So everyone should RSVP, is what you're saying, for the event?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
okay, so please just confirm you're coming as well. All right, so again, sorry about lunch, it just fell through the cracks, but we'll
Time for tea and coffee, and then we can bring the invitations down to the kitchen.
yeah, and all right, thank you, everyone, have a great week, we'll see you next week. Huh? You want to say? He wants to say something. Yeah.
All right, okay, so I found my group about Castaway, and I have to